Now, Zimbabwe's economic crisis and political instability has seen citizens leaving the country for a better life. Technology has presented many opportunities for families to be able to connect across the countries and continents. Well, Professor Maria Marchetti-Mercer is Professor of Psychology and Assistant Dean of Research, Faculty of Humanities at Wits, who has co-authored a paper on how technology keeps Zimbabwean families together even after migration. Professor Marchetti-Mercer joins us now. Prof, good evening. Give us a brief history of how you came to author this particular paper. What gave rise to it?
So this paper is part of a larger project, which I headed together with a very great team of fellow researchers across Africa and also from Australia, where we looked in general at what we call transnational African families. In other words, families who've migrated. In our case, we looked at families from other parts of Africa coming to South Africa, including the Zimbabwean sample, also rural to urban migration. And we looked at how these families use technology nowadays to maintain family relationships back home. So it was really, this chapter was also done with two graduate students of mine, Siko Moyo and Sonto Madonsela, and we looked at, Zimbabwean families and their use of technology and kind of the challenges that they face and the advantages that they have, experienced by using this technology. But it's part of a much larger project.
But in the age of social media, is it not, easy for people to connect these days? No?
Okay, so of course, if you have access, to good technology, to good internet reception, of course it's easy. So it's easy for people like myself who can access a smartphone, who can buy data. But of course, what came about from this research and what was very evident, that we're facing a situation of what we would call digital injustice. In other words, not everyone has access to the same kind of technology. So while technology, of course, makes it much more easy than it would have been decades ago for families who are separated by geography to stay connected, this technology does not come cheap. You need, to use WhatsApp, which is usually the one platform that people tend to use because it's much cheaper. You need a smartphone, and a smartphone costs a lot of money. Data in our country is quite expensive, so if you have migrants, for example, living in South Africa who are facing great, financial challenges, and they have to choose, between money to maybe send back to their children or money to survive, as opposed to buying data, of course they're going to, prioritize other things. And I think that that's what we're seeing, that while the technology is available and the technology does give us opportunities, we are facing a situation where often people, do not have access to these because, they come from impoverished backgrounds and they don't have this digital access.
Obviously, if in poorer countries where internet penetration is still low, and as you pointed out, instruments or handsets are expensive, data is expensive. So, such communities or countries, are not going to be able to reap the rewards of these technological advancements.
Absolutely. If you look at sort of the literature in terms of this kind of research that's been done in migration, in what we would call, more the global north, obviously, people speak very highly of the use of technology and what it has done. But, in the African situation and even in many parts of South Africa, people, the internet access is not great, for example, or people really struggle, and to access data and smartphones. And what they end up doing in the end is to use, phone calls, sort of normal phone calls to connect with their family members. But of course, it's much more expensive than using a WhatsApp call.
Prof, let's leave it there for this afternoon. Thank you very much for your time.